One therapist was 10 minutes late for their 10-minute therapy session. So I guess it was a 0-minute session. After the therapist finally logged in, she said, "Oh wow, we don't have a lot of time." Then she kept trying to sell her book to the patient. You know, in that 0-minute time frame, she used that to sell her book. BetterHelp is an online therapy service that has recently been exposed for its extremely scammy practices, terrible services, and aggressive influencer marketing. From selling sensitive private patient health information to third-party platforms, to charging patients for services they never even asked for, to having sketchy therapists, to making patients jump through hoops for months to cancel their subscriptions, there seems to be no end to the list of controversies BetterHelp has been involved in. The entire point of BetterHelp is that they're supposed to provide better help than all other therapy services in person or online. But if that's the case, why did they have to pay millions of dollars to settle a lawsuit against them? BetterHelp, or as I like to call them, Sketchy Help, is a global company that provides direct mental health services through video, audio, live chat, or text message, and calls itself the world's largest online therapy platform. Which they might be, but that's not a good thing. They've served over 3.5 million patients and made $700 million in global revenue in 2022 alone. The average cost of BetterHelp is $65 to $100 a week. But as you add more services, you know, like if you need more mental help, the more expensive it gets. And if you think of somebody who's really struggling with mental health issues, do you imagine somebody that can afford $100 extra a week on top of all their other bills? I'm pretty sure you don't. Another extremely terrible aspect of BetterHelp is their extremely aggressive YouTube sponsorship campaigns. Jubilee, Jax Films, and the Try Guys have all shared BetterHelp sponsorship ads in their videos. And granted, they really didn't know how bad BetterHelp was when they did this, but it really didn't age well. YouTubers face an extreme amount of backlash after working with BetterHelp, but BetterHelp must have an extremely manipulative and convincing marketing team because Jax Films initially had to apologize for working with them and then ended up working with them again years later because they promised they were a changed company and were so much better now and not scammy. Of course, this was all a load of barnacles once again, and he had to part ways with the company and apologize yet again to his audience. These YouTubers face so much backlash because in their ad integrations, they have to share their own personal experiences with mental health. Whether these experiences are real or fake, BetterHelp doesn't really care at the end of the day as long as they get their money in 1 million new patients to charge over $300 to $400 a month each. Then it was exposed that for every single customer who signs up for BetterHelp through these YouTubers' unique links, aka affiliate marketing, the YouTubers could allegedly receive up to $200 per signup. So if the math isn't mathing for you yet, basically if a YouTuber gets only 1,000 out of their millions of subscribers to click their link and sign up for BetterHelp, they'll instantaneously make around $200,000 off of the mentally ill. This led to everyday people and actual psychologists being extremely concerned that the YouTubers were profiting off of their viewers' mental health issues. But the BetterHelp CEO responded saying these allegations couldn't be further from the truth. But it looks pretty right on the money, right on the $700 million. What's $200,000 you have to give to a YouTuber when you already have $700 million in a year? Now, before BetterHelp sends me a cease and desist letter, even though they probably already have their chief marketing strategist cooking up a strongly worded email as we speak, let's look at Reddit BetterHelp patient testimonials to see what other people have to say and not me so I don't get sued. BetterHelp is basically a scam, and they spend so much money on influencer marketing that their service is inescapable. BetterHelp also sends patient data to pharmaceutical companies and interest groups. BetterHelp is not a substitute for therapy. In therapy, you work with a singular doctor who you meet regularly with and creates a plan to improve your mental health. BetterHelp is essentially a customer service text and chat system. You get matched with a therapist. Usually they give tepid, unhelpful, vague advice, and you essentially swipe through until you find someone who might help you. But it's really not a great service. I've used BetterHelp and had a terrible experience. Every therapist I've matched with gave terrible, vague, half-at feedback. Now I have a proper therapist and my mental health has significantly improved. It's pretty nefarious the way BetterHelp has preyed on susceptible, mentally ill people and made a market and market data out of them. Stay away. I thought I was signing up for talk therapy, but the sessions were about 30 minutes, which wasn't enough time to cover anything well in therapy. When I complained, they pressured me to use writing with my therapist, which is not ideal to me with some of my physical limitations. It's also not talking, which is what I thought it would be. Because of this, local therapy was also the same price for an equal amount of talk therapy. When I tried to cancel, it was virtually impossible. Even though I finally found a number to call about it, they still charged me. I had to fight for ages to get a refund and to get them to cancel. It was super shady, and I felt like they were taking advantage of people in crisis because of how hard they made it to cancel. The worst is the constant rescheduling. It's a monthly fee. My wife tried to use it for a bit, and a single appointment got pushed back 3 months, which means we paid for 3 months of absolutely nothing. It's a whole scam through and through. Now, what about what people had to say about BetterHelp on betterbusinessbureau.org? I was going to use this company for therapy, but canceled on May 23rd, 2024, and was still charged and continued to be charged for it. This company took my credit card information and provided me with zero service for my teenage daughter. However, they charged me $200 to almost $300 weekly for service that I'm not getting. They would not talk to us over the phone without furnishing the credit card info. Now, they're using it without our permission. There will be no record found of any services rendered to my family. BetterHelp is advertising my business as a part of their network. I'm receiving calls from people in different states looking for therapy because BetterHelp has somehow included my name and credentials in their advertising. I would like my information removed from their website. Signed up to talk to a BetterHelp psychologist last week of March 2024. I was assigned a good psychologist. The first 2 weeks, we had 1 video appointment each week and texted once or twice a day. Then in April, per my request, we increased to video meetings 2 times a week as I struggled to learn to improve my mental health. Was good, and we were working hard. This week, I had a video session on Tuesday, March 30th, and signed up for another with him for Friday, May 3rd for 3:50 p.m. On Wednesday, I signed into the app to a message saying my Friday appointment was canceled and that doctor was no longer with BetterHelp. No explanation, no referral. Just he is no more. This has sent me way back. I want to know what happened. Your doctor disappearing mid-treatment is devastating. This is as serious as can be. BetterHelp has proven to be nothing more than unserious in the treatment of mental health. I'm devastated. I want all my money back so I can find real therapy to help undo this unacceptable and dangerous action BetterHelp.com has perpetrated. Overall mental health has been on a steady decline in the past 20 years. It seems like more and more people are diagnosed with anxiety or depression or both each year. A huge chunk of this decline in the past 10 years can be attributed to the rise of social media. While there are mental illnesses that can't really be made worse so easily by external forces like social media, certain mental illnesses like anxiety and depression are easily amplified and exacerbated by the constant posting, liking, sharing, and all eyes on you and all eyes on others nature of social media platforms. When social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram skyrocketed between 2006 and 2012, everyday people started to be a lot more self-aware, which in turn led to almost every person with a computer or phone becoming more and more self-conscious as the years went on, and as social media became more and more advanced. Just think of the fact that in November 2013, the word selfie officially became a word in the dictionary. And this was years before TikTok even blew up. So if we already have a word in the dictionary created about pointing a camera at yourself in 2013, just imagine kids today that grow up watching TikTok 24/7 and filming them at like 5 years old. All of this extreme emphasis on the self and other people's view of yourself added an even bigger dark cloud over people's heads who already struggled with things like clinical depression and anxiety disorders. If you're a company like BetterHelp, your immediate thought after hearing me say all this would be, wow, what a better way to take advantage of the mentally vulnerable population that's tormented by social media while being simultaneously hooked on social media than to make millions and billions of dollars aggressively marketing a scam therapy service to them through social media. We'll make it look like we're helping them. We'll make it look like we understand how they feel. We can pay all their favorite YouTubers, like, YouTube, like the thing that they're hooked onto because they're so depressed that all they do is watch YouTube, and we'll do this to promote it to them. And we can charge them like $100 to $300 a week. If you've ever been on YouTube in the past few years, you've probably seen at least 700 different BetterHelp sponsorship ads in all kinds of different YouTube videos. And you've probably seen those ads just on your homepage. Click here to join BetterHelp. Before we get into BetterHelp's insanely bad reputation, let's see how they fooled us for years and years and made us think that they were a credible service and company. Sadly, today, they are back at it again with these YouTube sponsorship ads. And I'm literally about to lose my mind after watching this next one I'm about to show you guys. This actually made me extremely mad. And they're back at it again after settling a couple lawsuits that I'll get into later in this video. But thankfully, a lot of information is out there now about how terrible and scammy BetterHelp is. So hopefully less and less people will end up signing up over time with more videos like this one coming out. And hopefully they'll get into even more lawsuits, because I highly doubt they change their behavior. BetterHelp has already sent a cease and desist letter to a couple of YouTubers who have exposed them, even though this is all publicly available information and it's not defamation if it's true, backed by actual lawsuits and the FTC. But for the sake of avoiding being sued by BetterHelp, I'll show an ad they posted out of their own free will. This has nothing to do with me. They hired actors, they hired directors, they hired scriptwriters, and they actually put out this garbage. And it's an extreme slap in the face to anybody who actually struggles with mental health. And I'll show this video through screenshots so they don't copyright strike me. And I won't show an actual YouTuber sponsorship because I already know BetterHelp will probably be like, well, we really have no control over what YouTubers put out, even though you have to send your ad integration to the company and get it approved before they send it back to you and allow you to post it. But strap in, because this next ad is about to get bad. The most viewed video on the BetterHelp YouTube channel is called Open Up BetterHelp. Oh yeah, open up to us. We're BetterHelp. There's already so many red flags and warning signs in the first 5 seconds of the video. First of all, they're dramatizing and romanticizing a panic attack. But the video is more like showing a psychotic break because the girl is a lonely young woman in her early 20s who's overwhelmed by the anxiety and stress caused by the pandemic. But she's having auditory hallucinations and visual hallucinations because of this. And they're depicting mental illness on the psychosis level to try to market a talk therapy service to people who might suffer from low-level anxiety and low-level depression. Through this ad, they're trying to make you feel like they just get you. No one else understands how you feel when you have an anxiety attack, panic attack, or PTSD episode, but BetterHelp, they understand how you feel. They understand that you feel like the world is crashing around you, but they also understand that you will fall for this ad once you sign up because they can sell all your private data and personal information to other social media companies. But I'll get into all that later on. In the video, as soon as the girl gets inside of her apartment, her door slams behind her and it looks like somebody slammed the door for her. So it already has kind of a creepy feeling and it's starting to look like a horror movie ad. Then she sees her windows opening and closing on their own and her lamp crashing onto the floor. Then everything is like a tornado and everything is just going crazy. Then while everything crashes, voices start coming inside of her head and saying really triggering things like, I can't breathe, I'm losing it, nothing's going right, I wish I could just disappear, I wish this would just end, this is too much, I'm exhausted. Then all of a sudden, everything stops and calms as soon as, you guessed it, she opens up her laptop to BetterHelp. This literally made me insane. Like, the absolutely crazy part is that in the fine print at the bottom of the video, it says, if you're in crisis or any other person may be in danger, do not use BetterHelp. Call a crisis hotline or 911. But if they actually cared about people who actually live what's in this ad, not using BetterHelp, why would they make the ad about those people and put in tiny, tiny fine print in white font, thin white font, not even any drop shadow or anything that you can actually read it. But anyway, let me calm down. So if they were concerned with people in crisis, not wasting their time with an online therapy chat, why would that be the exact thing they show in the ad? If they really cared, they would show people with low-level anxiety and low-level depression who just need a little bit of talk therapy. Not psychiatrists, not the ER, and not to be checked into a mental institution for a couple of weeks. If this ad were actually real, the girl in the video is obviously having a psychotic break and is having suicidal ideations, if you know what I mean. In this situation, she should immediately go to the ER because her life could actually be in danger. She should not pop open BetterHelp. And later in the video, I'll show you guys the kind of therapists that people get when they pop open BetterHelp, who try to sell them their book, or who are in an open office lounge area completely violating HIPAA and talking while everyone else can hear what the patient is saying. In the ad, as soon as she opens the laptop, a therapist says, "Hey Marley, why don't you walk me through what happened?" Then Marley says, "I had another panic attack earlier. Can we go over some more grounding techniques?" And as Marley says this, she's shaking and tapping her leg and still basically having the panic attack. Then the ad just dramatically fades to black and says, "Open up, BetterHelp. Try therapy online." This BetterHelp ad is meant to feel like a trailer for a horror movie to show how bad the girl feels mentally. But if the state of your mental health is so bad to the point where sitting alone in your room in silence feels like a horror movie trailer, it's time to seek actual quality help in a psychiatrist who can help you, or call 911 for your own safety, or go to the ER for immediate help. Not start chatting with a BetterHelp therapist with questionable credentials who can't even spell grounding techniques. Sure, maybe someone in this situation wouldn't really want to go to the ER, anymore, even if they should. Maybe they're embarrassed, or maybe they don't feel like jumping through hoops or being admitted to a mental hospital. And maybe they would just want to chat with a therapist quickly. But later, I'll get into how there can be crazy long wait times before you even get a BetterHelp therapist to talk to you. And they can constantly cancel your appointments for months. So the whole point of BetterHelp is that you can get immediate help and better help, but then they actually in reality make you wait like 3 months just to see somebody for 10 minutes. And sometimes the therapists are 10 minutes late to that 10-minute appointment. And sometimes the therapists have absolutely no idea what they're talking about and the differences between certain mental illnesses and other mental illnesses. And should companies that offer mental health services really be encouraging everyone having episodes and panic attacks to go to them instead of the ER? And also, if you really think about it, they're kind of spreading the stereotype that mental illnesses are just all in people's heads, because they make it look like if you're having extreme visual and auditory hallucinations and having thoughts of ending it all it takes to stop everything and calm the storm is to discuss grounding techniques for 10 minutes. If that was so easy, there would be no psychiatrist or DSM-5. Now let's get into all the legal trouble BetterHelp has found themselves in over the past few years. The most notable lawsuit they're involved in involves them in the Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC. On May 6, 2024, on ftc.gov, an article was published called "BetterHelp Customers Will Begin Receiving Notices About Refunds Related to a 2023 Privacy Settlement with FTC." BetterHelp agreed to pay $7.8 million to settle FTC allegations that the online therapy provider used and shared customers' health data for advertising. This article talks about how 800,000 people were about to become eligible for refunds after BetterHelp settled to pay the FTC almost $8 million after the FTC exposed them for using and sharing patient health data, including sensitive information about their mental health with third-party companies to use for advertising. If you don't follow me, this is a fancy way of saying if I sign up for BetterHelp right now and I say I'm a girl in my 20s who loves dogs and cats and submit the form, if I go on Facebook 5 seconds later, there's a pretty good chance I'll see an ad for the Farmer's Dog, Litter Robot, and Lemonade pet insurance. And I already see those ads too much, and if I see one more ad...
We don't want people to think that feeding food like ours to the dogs is spoiling the dogs. With the all-new Litter Robot, Lemonade pet insurance. 3 words you never thought would be used together.
If you ever wonder why you get ads for things you actually like or were just talking about, it's not because your phone is reading your mind, but it's really because certain apps you use are selling your data to other apps. There's also app tracking, which you can turn off, but that's a whole nother video. You know, like when you download an app and it says, "Would you like to allow this app to track on your devices and other apps," or whatever it says? Click no, please. But if you've ever wondered why you get a million scam texts, calls, and emails, yeah, that's also thanks to apps selling your information. If you sign up for an app and enter your email, phone number, and age, the app can turn right around and sell that to another app to use to target ads to you that they think you'll love. Well, they don't really care if you love the ad, they just care if you buy the product. BetterHelp sold their patients email addresses, IP addresses, and answers to personal health questions for advertisers to use for their own benefit. They sold this information to Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest, and others for advertising. They did this after lying in their customers' faces because they promised and ensured customers that they'll only ever use this information so that they can provide counseling services and would only ever disclose personal health data for very limited purposes, like making your mental health the best it can be. I guess one of those limited purposes was illegally sending your email addresses to advertising companies. This is illegal because BetterHelp never got consent from their customers before disclosing their health data to other companies, and didn't limit how third-party companies could use that data. The FTC settlement allowed people who signed up and paid for BetterHelp between August 1st, 2017 and December 31st, 2020 to get refunded. BetterHelp has also offered online counseling through a lot of other websites besides BetterHelp.com, including My Therapist, Teen Counseling, Faithful Counseling, Pride Counseling, iCounseling, Regain, and Therapeuta. I don't know if I pronounced that last one right, but comment below if you've ever heard of that website. You can also get a refund if you use any of these websites in this time frame between 2017 and 2020. So yeah, they were selling your information from way more websites than just BetterHelp.com. So what about the sketchy BetterHelp therapists who may or may not be licensed depending on who you ask and what day of the week it is? There are thousands of people on TikTok who have shared their BetterHelp therapy session horror stories. One therapist was 10 minutes late for their 10-minute therapy session. So I guess it was a 0-minute session. After the therapist finally logged in, she said, "Oh wow, we don't have a lot of time." Then she kept trying to sell her book to the patient. You know, in that 0-minute time frame, she used that to sell her book. Then the patient contacted BetterHelp to get a new therapist, and he also missed their first 2 appointments. And he tried to apologize at the last minute by texting the patient, "Oh man, I'm so sorry, I was at my other job." Another TikToker met with a BetterHelp therapist for 3 weeks before realizing BetterHelp has no concept of what a HIPAA violation is. Now, we clearly already know that they don't care at all about the HIPAA privacy rule, one of the most important rules in the medical field. They also don't care about protected health information, the Department of Health and Human Services, or anything a good mental health service should care about. They made this extremely clear when they sold your most traumatic memories and experiences and deepest, darkest secrets about your mental health issues to Pinterest. But this TikToker, like millions of others, signed up for BetterHelp before they were really exposed so much and trusted that they could actually help her and her mental health issues. She says she logged into her therapy session and the therapist was clearly talking to someone else in the background as soon as she logged in. But then the therapist quickly cut off her conversation and said, "Hey, how are you? So let's get started." Then the patient was like, someone's in there. Then, halfway through the session, the therapist walked into a public office lounge, made popcorn, and started eating while the patient was talking. So basically, just like the last guy who was like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I was at my other job and that's why I missed both your appointments," the girl was probably at work on break talking to her coworker and was like, "Oh my goodness, I forgot this little therapy session side hustle thing. Like, I have to log in really quick. It only takes like 10 minutes and we already have 10 minutes for break. Oh, bye, girl." And then she realized her lunch break was almost over, so she's decided to crunch on some popcorn while her patient poured her heart out. Another TikToker's BetterHelp therapist didn't know the difference between PTSD and CPTSD and needed the patient to explain it to her. Now, if the BetterHelp therapist was actually a licensed professional in the mental health field, they would know that PTSD usually results from a single traumatic incident, while CPTSD often develops over multiple sustained, repeated traumatic events. Like, think an otherwise non-traumatic life, but then childbirth gives you PTSD, versus a hostage being held for years after being kidnapped. That kind of trauma would be CPTSD. This seems like a pretty simple concept, right? Something a professional should definitely know, right? Wrong. This is BetterHelp. CPTSD is a relatively new diagnosis, so I'll give the therapist that. But wouldn't therapists who are members of supposedly the best service out there keep up on the latest information in the field just to help out their precious patients? No, because Denny's in the 5-star restaurant world is BetterHelp in the therapy world. Another TikToker who suffered from an eating disorder, this one makes me insane, was told by a BetterHelp therapist, "Congratulations on all that weight loss." There's clearly a huge variety in the quality of the licenses that BetterHelp therapists claim to have. This is why one patient was allegedly assigned to a crystal healer and another to a therapist who aggressively pushed homeopathy. Add that to the therapist selling their book and the one shoveling handfuls of popcorn while you talk, and you equal BetterHelp. There are some actual good therapists on BetterHelp, but in the case of one of these actually qualified and not sketchy professional therapists, she had to quit because of how bad the company was to her and how BetterHelp put money way over quality treatments.
BetterHelp encourages therapists to have up to 50 clients in a week. So when you're on BetterHelp, there is a good chance that you are 1 out of 50 clients on that therapist schedule. And you can tell when you are number 8, 9, 10 on a therapist schedule, your therapist is not present with you. She is brain dead. That's why it is very important to me in my private practice to have a very limited number of slots available for people, because I know that you're making an investment, and in order for me to follow through on those promises that are made, I need to be rejuvenated, I need to be present, and I need to be in it with you, which is where the fun comes in, and that's why I love my job. And half the clients I would get on BetterHelp, I would be their 2nd, 3rd, 4th therapist, and they were like, "Oh my God, thank God you're showing up on time and that you're, actually present with me." You mean like doing the very bare minimum of what a therapist should do?
Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure to subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the summer. And I really appreciate every single one of you for watching and liking and commenting. Make sure to like the video and comment below what you think of this scammy company, or comment your experience if you've ever tried BetterHelp, or let me know why you would absolutely never try BetterHelp. And I'll see you all in my next video.